have you ever tried to read a contract or listen to a lawyer and just felt completely lost? Like you're trying to decipher some kind of secret code? Well, you're not wrong. And today, we're going to crack that code. We're decoding the law's Latin, this ancient language that, believe it or not, is pretty much the software our modern legal world still runs on. So let's jump in.
So let's start with the big question, right? Why on earth does the law, which is supposed to manage our supermodern lives, sometimes sound like it's speaking a dead language? It can feel pretty intimidating, almost like it's designed to keep people out. But there's actually a really good reason for it.
And the reason is, well, it's because the core ideas, the absolute DNA of our legal system, are thousands of years old. They were born in ancient Rome. These Latin words, they're not just there to sound fancy. They are incredibly precise, powerful concepts that have stuck around for one simple reason. They just work. So today, we're going to translate the most important ones, and you'll see exactly how they build the world we live in.
Here's how we're going to do it. First, we'll start with the absolute basics, what the law even considers a thing. From there, we'll dive into the unseen rules of what it means to actually own something. Then we'll look at how we make and break deals, what happens when things go wrong, and finally, we'll wrap up with the law's golden rules that hold this whole system together.
All right, first things first. Before we can talk about who owns what or signing contracts or anything else, we have to get really clear on what the law actually considers to be property in the first place. It all starts with a thing.
And the most fundamental word you need to know is res. It's super simple. It literally just means a thing. You know, in legal terms, a res is any physical object you can sense. Your phone, your laptop, a car, a house. It sounds almost too basic, but I promise you every single rule in property law starts from this one simple idea.
Now here's where it gets really interesting. The law immediately takes all the things in the world and sorts them into two big categories. On the left, we've got res in commercio, things in commerce. This is all the stuff you can privately own and trade, your car, a book, a house. But on the right, you have res extra commercium, things outside of commerce. This is stuff that belongs to everyone, like the air or a public park, and, really importantly, things that can't be owned by anyone, ever, like a person. This split is one of the law's first and most fundamental lines in the sand.
Okay, so what about stuff that could be owned but isn't right now? Well, for that, we have the concept of res nullius, literally a thing of nobody. Think about a wild animal out in the forest, or maybe a more common example, that chair you see left on the curb for trash pickup. That chair has a special name, res derelicte, an abandoned thing. And the key here is all about intent. The original owner meant to get rid of it. So the rule is, the first person to grab it with the real intention of making it theirs, well, they become the new legal owner. It's basically the legal version of finders keepers.
Okay, so we've figured out what a thing is, but what does it actually mean to own it? It's so much more than just, holding it in your hand. Ownership is really a bundle of invisible but super powerful rights. Let's unpack what they are.
So ownership really boils down to three main powers. First, you have jus utendi. That's your right to use your stuff. Pretty straightforward. Second, there's jus fruendi, the right to enjoy the fruits of the thing. Now that can be literal, like apples from your tree, or financial, like getting rent from a house you own. And third, and this is the most powerful one, is jus abutendi, the right to get rid of it completely, sell it, give it away, or even destroy it. When you have all three, you have full ownership.
And this brings us to what is pretty much the golden rule of property law, nemo plus juris. It just means no one can transfer more rights than they actually have. Think about it. If a thief steals your laptop, they have possession of it, sure, but they have zero ownership rights. So they can't legally sell it to somebody else, even if that buyer is totally innocent and pays good money for it. It doesn't matter. The buyer gets nothing of legal value because the thief had nothing to give. It's an incredibly important idea that protects true owners.
All right, so we get property and ownership. Now, how do we legally move all this stuff around between people? Well, we're shifting from the world of things to the world of agreements. And we're about to look at the ancient DNA of basically every contract you'll ever sign.
At the absolute heart of any and every contract is this idea, consensus ad idem. It means agreement on the same thing. It's not enough to just shake hands or sign a paper. Both people have to be on the exact same page about the deal they're making. If you don't have this true meeting of the minds, then from the law's point of view, there is no contract. Full stop.
But what happens when that agreement isn't quite genuine? Well, the law makes a really big distinction here. On one side, we have dullis, which is just fraud. This is when someone intentionally lies to trick you into a deal. A contract made this way is voidable, which means the person who was tricked gets to decide if they want to cancel it. But on the other side, you have error, which is an honest mistake, an accidental misunderstanding. Now, depending on how serious that mistake is, it can make the contract completely void, like it never even happened.
So what kind of mistake is so bad it kills the whole deal? Well, there are two big ones that basically make a meeting of the minds impossible. First is error in negotiation, a mistake about the type of deal. For example, you think you're buying a car, but the other person thinks they're just leasing it to you. You're not on the same page. The second one is error in corpore, a mistake about the actual object. You think you're buying the red car, but they think they're selling you the blue one. In both of those cases, there was never a real agreement, so the contract is void from the get-go.
Okay, so what can you actually do when a deal goes south, or your property ends up in someone else's hands, or that thing you just bought turns out to be a lemon? The law doesn't just leave you hanging. It gives you powerful tools, or remedies, to make things right.
Let's start with the owner's ultimate power move, the re vindicatio. This is the legal action a true owner can use to reclaim their property from anyone who has it. And I mean anyone. It doesn't matter if the person holding it is the original thief or some innocent person who bought it without knowing it was stolen. If you can prove you are the legal owner, you have the right to get your stuff back. It is one of the strongest protections for owners in the entire legal system.
Right, but let's look at a different kind of problem. What if you bought something, you totally own it, but then you discover a hidden flaw, something you had no way of seeing when you made the purchase? Well, yeah, the Romans had a fix for that, too.
And their solutions, which are laid out here, are actually the ancestors of our modern consumer protection laws. You basically had two choices. Option 1 was the actio redehibitoria. With this, you could return the faulty item within 6 months and get a full refund. Simple. Option 2 was the actio quanti minoris. This let you keep the item, but you could demand a price reduction to make up for the flaw. And for that, you had a full year. Two really clear, practical solutions for a super common problem. So, we've covered a ton of ground, from defining a thing, to ownership, to making deals and fixing them when they break. Now, let's just pull it all together and look at the big, timeless principles that we can take away from all this ancient wisdom. So here it is, your basic Latin legal toolkit. You start with res, the thing. Then you have the powers of ownership. Jus utendi, fruendi, and abutendi. You've got the golden rule of transfer, nemo plus juris. You can't give what you don't have. For contracts, the key is consensus ad idem, a true meeting of minds. And if you lose your property, you have the re vindicatio to get it back. Honestly, these are the fundamental building blocks for so much of our law.
And if there's one principle that towers over all of contract law, it's this simple but incredibly powerful phrase, pacta sunt servanda. Agreements must be kept. This is the bedrock of trust that our entire society and economy is built on. It means when you make a deal, the law says you have to honor it. It's what makes everything possible, from buying a coffee to closing a massive business deal.
And all of this leaves us with one final big question. We've just decoded a set of ideas that are 2,000 years old, and yet they solve the kinds of problems we deal with every single day. So what is it that makes them so timeless? Is it just their raw logic? Is it about fairness? Or is it something else entirely? It's definitely something to think about the next time you hear a bit of Latin in a courtroom or a legal document. Thanks for digging into this with me.